okay, I have the air conditioning on. Hopefully I will survive. Hopefully, just pray for me. So, hello everyone. Today we're going to film what? You're gonna watch it, you're not gonna film it. It's me who's filming. Oh my god, what am I talking about? It's hot girl summer and I'm not enjoying it particularly. So today we're going to be filming a very requested video, and I just generally thought that this topic would be cool to discuss and kind of interesting to share, like how I trained my accent. Because on my most popular video in this channel, which is about language learning, if you haven't seen it, I'll leave the video somewhere in here. After this video went out, I've received a lot of comments of people saying, native speakers saying, that I actually have a very good accent and that it's very hard to tell that I am not in fact English, or that, you know, at least my accent, my Russian accent, is so subtle that you can't really tell that it's like prominent Russianness. So I was very happy about that. It was actually very flattering and it was very dear to my heart to see those comments saying that I am apparently doing something right in this life. There has been a comment where someone said that they struggle with the pronunciation. I thought, why don't I do a video where I explain how I trained my accent? I don't really like stumble on words, I am quite fluid with it, and I actually can switch accents. Like, I also can speak like this, you know, it's just like very uncomfortable because it just feels so unnatural, you know, but still I have the option of speaking like this, and like it's not my style, you know what I mean? So sorry. It's just a matter of practice, and I know that I can practically mimic whatever I want. The most comfortable way for me to speak English is with an English-like accent. So this is just the most natural way for me for how my mouth works. And ridiculousness coming narrate. I can also, like, if I want to, I can speak like this. It is a matter of just changing the way you view yourself. It's putting yourself in another role. I'm hilarious, I'm hysterical, stop me. Well, now that we've had some fun, let's get into the serious business. And no, I am not going to talk with this Russian accent. Although I can, because it's very natural for me. If you could not tell by now, this is not how Russians speak. This is how stereotypical Russians speak. This is how you think Russians speak. It is not how we speak. Although we could, but I'm not going to. Okay, let's get into the topic of this video. The first thing to understand about speaking English and any other language really is that there is no one correct way of learning to speak a language, and there's no one right accent or wrong one. So the first thing that I want you to do, if you want to mimic accents in general in any language better, I want you to take that pressure off yourself. I still have my native accent kind of glimmering through my speech, and I am not ashamed of it, because like it doesn't matter. Like, I can explain myself, my thoughts, I can talk about anything practically, and I see how I'm improving. I know that I'm getting better, and so can you, and I know that it can take a long time. You know, I didn't always speak like this, but you need to train your brain to tune into the way people sound and distinguish those differences, and that just comes with practice. You just need a lot of listening, a lot of trying to replicate what you hear, and that will lead you to a very good place. But again, if you feel comfortable speaking the way you do with your own accent, showing through very, very prominently, it is not a problem in my personal opinion. It's like, if it's comfortable for you to speak this way, if you have kind people around you and they are not bullying you for your accent, it is not really a problem. Like, why would you try to change your accent? But of course, it's just a fun thing to do. I am a firm believer that even if you speak with a very strong accent, you can still pretty much deliver every message that you want to. and people will understand you. Don't you understand me right now? I understand myself, and I believe that even native speakers will understand me. Probably not take me as seriously, but if you think about it, it's not as bad at all. My thoughts are still understandable, so why would you laugh at me? Put that pressure off your shoulders. You speak well just the way you do, as long as it comes kind of naturally and fluid. And again, remember that all people in the world will have completely different accents, and even native speakers have such a wide variety and range of accents among them that it's just a very interesting subject to study. Just keep that in mind, and don't be ashamed of the way you speak. Don't be ashamed of your native way of sounding. Why am I moving my arms like this? Am I dancing Vogue? What is going on with me today? That's the heat wave. It's the heat wave. I'm telling you, people, it's the heat wave. And now the actual tips on how to improve your accent and sound the way you want to sound. The first thing to do is find a specific accent that you want to mimic, because if you go super general and you're like, I want to learn a British accent, what is it specifically? Like, do you want a London accent? Do you want a Yorkshire accent? Do you want a Scottish village accent? Do you want an Irish accent? Do you want a Welsh accent? Which one? Because like Britain is great. That's why it's called the Great Britain. Oh my god. Go specific, like narrow down. So for example, if I want to speak like upper class British people, posh people that go to Oxford and Stanford, I'm really sorry, I will possibly go and find people who speak like this online and try to listen to the way they specifically pronounce their vowels and their consonants, and find specifically some accent that you would like to mimic. And it doesn't really have to be at first the accent that you're going to be talking with. You can just find different accents that sound very harsh and like very strong, and practice with those strong accents. So, for example, if you watch The Crown, you will immediately kind of tune into this way of speaking, because you will hear that upper class British accent of the Queen and her people. At some point, if you listen to a lot of English, you will start hearing the differences and you will start to catch them. So again, it's just practice, a lot of practice, a lot of hearing, a lot of listening. Find a TV series or a YouTuber, movies where people have this same accent, this one accent that you want to focus on and that you want to speak like. And in fact, if you have more time and if you want to have more range, you can find different series, different movies with completely different people, different accents, different everything. And that contrast of hearing different ways of speaking will teach you how to differentiate types of accents and how to spot the differences between one accent and another one. It's my personal experience. It's all about narrowing down, being specific, going into the niche, and then kind of also working with contrast. So seeing very different, very opposite ways of speaking, and this way learning to hear the difference first, and then comes the next part where you start speaking. So when you have listened to enough material, or while you are listening to the material that you want to mimic, you can start trying to replicate how they pronounce things. So for example, you start noticing some certain patterns that you can spot in the speech of some specific person or specific region, specific city, whatever it is, and you try to repeat after them. Literally pause whatever it is that you're watching and try to repeat it in the same manner. If you repeat after them, you can hear whether you're pronouncing it in a very similar way if you're getting close, and try to even mimic the tonality, the voice, the pace with which people talk. I've noticed among people who struggle with learning languages and learning to comprehend different accents and replicate them, that they only focus on the phonetics of the particular letters or their combinations. So for example, you focus on how people pronounce their R's, or how they pronounce the vowels or certain combinations of certain letters, so diphthongs and triphthongs and all of that. But instead, not instead, but like complementary to that, you can also try to listen to the literally to the notes, to the tonalities, to the intonations, because the intonation and the pace and the stress, where you put the stress not in a word but like in a sentence, when you start noticing those things, if you know what I mean, you can start to actually sound a lot more like the people that you're trying to copy. So this is a very powerful tool. Try to hear the way they speak in terms of voice. How do they go? Like, do they lower their voice at the end of the sentence? Do they go up at the end of the sentence? Do they stress every word they say, or do they pronounce it kind of like a staircase, and then they kind of go down? Is it like a hill? If you hear a specific voice, especially if it sounds kind of funny, try to replicate that as if you were acting, as if you were an actor and you were trying to kind of get into the role. Imagine that you're an actor and that you're trying to replicate the way another person speaks, acts, moves, their facial expressions. Mimic not only the accent, but try mimicking the voice, how they sound apart from their pronunciation. Maybe you notice that their mouth kind of moves in a specific way, and that can actually be very helpful. So you're kind of getting completely immersed into that role, into being that person that speaks that certain way. So now I act like myself. I don't have to mimic anyone else's way of moving their face or anyone else's voice. It's my voice. At least I think it doesn't change much from language to language. It might, because the tonalities change and the stresses change and the way we pronounce all the words together changes. These are like minor details. And first, in order to develop your own style of speaking, and in order to be able to speak freely without minding your accent, without like noticing it anymore, first you have to like immerse yourself into another person, into being that other person that you want to sound like. And the fun thing about it is that not only is it very funny to try to speak like another person, it is also training your acting skills, which can be a fun thing to do. Like, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, you're not only practicing one skill, but 2 or even 3 skills at one time. You're training the musicality, how you view sound, how you replicate sounds. You're training your voice. You're getting rid of that fear of looking stupid. You're getting rid of that shame. You're learning to open up. You're learning to be ironic about yourself and be funny, and it can actually serve so many good purposes in your life. It makes life so much more fun. Another thing that is very fun to do is something that I learned that actors actually do when they're trying to change their accent for a role, when they need to replicate another person's accent. What they do in many cases is they have the so-called trigger words or trigger sentences. When you have to step into speaking a certain accent, you just imagine that one phrase in your mind pronounced on this accent, and you immediately switch to that and start speaking with that accent very effortlessly. It is a technique that I heard about. I actually didn't use it myself, but maybe it will be helpful for some of you. You just choose one phrase, and by pronouncing that one phrase in a certain accent, you immediately catch up with that accent and continue speaking with it. Everything comes with practice, and it comes with time. And if you still have no idea how to sound more British, more American, more whatever, Australian, don't expect too much from yourself in a very short span of time. You need to give your brain the time to rewire, to let it all sink in and process. With all of that being said, I really hope that you found this video useful. If it has been useful, please leave this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. We will be talking about more interesting subjects in the future. And I'm really grateful to you for being here with me, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.